The New York Times tracking of where the epidemic is worse now cites the Fayetteville, Arkansas region as the fastest growing case count in the nation. Arkansas as a whole has had 6 straight days of triple-digit increases in its case count. And the state health director in Arkansas just quit. In Sioux City, Iowa, they've just hit a new record for hospitalizations there as well. The state of Iowa just confirmed outbreaks in Sioux City and in Sioux Center, both in Purdue meatpacking plants. But local officials seem to think that a lot of the Sioux City problem, where, again, their hospitals are now setting new records for COVID patients in hospital, local officials and local health officials seem to believe that they think a big problem in Sioux City is from a 4,300-person meatpacking plant just over the Nebraska state line in Dakota City, Nebraska. All 4,300 people at that facility, that Tyson facility in Dakota City, Nebraska, all 4,300 employees there have been tested. But nobody knows what the numbers are. Nebraska officials won't say what the numbers are. Iowa officials won't say what the numbers are. And the company won't say what the numbers are. And so we know there's a sizable outbreak there. We know there's been testing. And so the local health officials, presumably, but at least the company knows how many people are infected at that plant, but they won't say. So they're just letting the hospitals in Sioux City fill up. They are now filling up. They're at their highest hospitalization rates in Sioux City. There's 2 hospitals there. And I guess they're just hoping nobody will ask where all these cases are coming from. That plant in Dakota City, still open. The highest per capita infection rate in the state of Iowa right now is in Buena Vista County, population around 20,000. In Buena Vista County, Iowa, more than 3% of the entire population of the county is now confirmed to be infected. Now, where are all these infections coming from? Infecting more than 3% of the whole county's population out in rural Iowa. You know by now, right? Without me even having to say it. You know, and I know, even without us looking it up on a map. And local reporters know exactly what drives those kinds of epidemic spike numbers. Everybody knows what's going on there. But boy howdy, does the governor of Iowa, Kim Reynolds, not want to admit what it is. Watch this from today.
Governor, is there an outbreak at a food production facility in Storm Lake, given the excessive spike in cases in Buena Vista County?
We have not confirmed that yet, but again, what I said earlier, Kay, is with our ability to track virus activity on a daily basis, that really does kind of give us the information we need to know where we potentially see a hot spot or a potential spike. And if we can, that's when we move the testing into that area. So at this point, they have not met the criteria.
When do the residents of Storm Lake who don't work at the facility get to know that there's an outbreak?
Well, you want to talk about that?
The Department of Public Health will confirm an outbreak when we've identified at least 10% of the employees at a particular location. So once we have identified 10% of their employees have tested positive, that's the determination in terms of when it's time to announce that there's been an outbreak at a facility like that.
We're not going to tell you. We're not even going to tell that community. We're going to wait to tell you. We're going to wait to tell the citizens of this county that is now the most infected county in the state, and who knows where that's coming from. We're going to wait till it's really, really, really bad, till we've decided to move testing in there, until we've decided that it's more than 10% of their workplace. Then we're going to wait until then before we tell anybody anything about it. Otherwise, sure, everything's good. Open up. Liberate Iowa. Stop asking about these numbers. Buena Vista County, Iowa, now with between 3 and 4% of its entire population infected, and the government will not talk about whether or not the meatpacking plants in the county seat of Buena Vista County, Iowa, might be the source of the infection, because they've invented a magic thinking threshold under which they don't need to tell you. They wait until it gets real bad. It is an infectious disease.